All right, everyone. Welcome back to Pop Pop's Pod. A lot of poppin' peas here. Pea Popper Pop Pop's Pod in the house. Dad Pod. Here we are with the Dad Pod. I kind of like that. Has a nice ring to it. Feeling good about this week. Got that W. I was sweating so hard through that Monday. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But let's just get over the whole weekend thing, right? So, your boy has been working pretty hard. Things are definitely going well. I have been gigging a lot and working a lot, teaching. So I teach this little kid rock band now, which is kind of fun. They're very, very raw. They're not super talented per se, but they are playing their instruments. They can hold time. They can play notes somewhat. But the thing is, they don't really listen to each other. They're kind of like in their own bubbles, which I guess is kind of like an allegory for this whole COVID experience. These are kids who went to school for the last 2.5, 3 years in a bubble. So their relationships to each other are definitely different. You can see that they still have like a camaraderie, which is good, but definitely they're not listening to each other. They're like in their own worlds when they play. So that's the biggest challenge. But it's fun teaching a band. It really is. I play this one gig on Friday nights right after I teach that band. It's at this country bar, and I have to play from 7 to 11 at night. So that's a 4-hour gig of playing straight. I probably play like 115 songs. My math is probably horribly off on there, but play a lot of songs. But luckily, they give me free scotch, so that's good. And it's just tough to get back at like 12 or something. I used to play gigs out in the city where the gig would end at 2, and then you have to drive home, and then you get home at like 4, and your whole next day is fucked, especially if it was a Sunday, because then you're up at 9:30 or whatever to set your lineups, 5 hours of sleep, go straight into drinking, boom, you're fucked. You're fucked for Monday. So that was my Friday. Saturday, nothing really to write home about. I was my wife, you might have met her, Amber, was hanging out with her mom on that day, so I had to have the house to myself, and I was gearing up for my last gig of the week at this place in Oakland called Beer Baron, and I get a call around 3 o'clock like, hey man, where are you gonna play today? And I thought the gig was at 6:30 because that's usually when it is when I play there. But I usually play there on Thursdays. I've only played there on Saturday 1 time or 2 times maybe. And turns out on Saturday it's at 3. So your boy was so late. I finally got Amber to come home. She, got back at like 4:30 or something, which was brutal. And then I drove there and finally started playing at 5:30. But real tough go there. Real tough go. Never feels good to show up that late to anything, especially when you don't really have I guess it wasn't fully my fault, but hey, it kind of was too, because I have played there at 3 before. Just totally forgot. And then finally Sunday rolls around, and that's when it was time to go to the farmer's market. Really quick before I get into the farmer's market, finished Stranger Things during this week. And if you have also finished Stranger Things, shoot me a text, because your boy is dying to talk to someone about it. I've talked to Adam a little bit about it, but dying to talk. So please reach out to your boy on my phone. I have it. All right. So back to Sunday. It's not that I don't enjoy going to the farmer's market. I do actually genuinely enjoy going to the farmer's market with the wifey. I think it's a really therapeutic, fun, healthy way to get your week kind of lined up, figure out what your meal plans are, set yourself up to eat healthier because you're getting a lot of fresh produce and whatnot. There's like a great bread guy near us where we get like this like seeded sourdough bread, which is incredible. And then yeah, that's the day where we kind of figure out our meals. I make guacamole and pico de gallo, so I get all these fresh ingredients for that. So I do, and like I make a lot of salads, as you guys know, so it doesn't look like it, but I do. And so I get a lot of fresh ingredients for that. But I have to say, the level of anxiety of like knowing that there's awesome football happening and your team may or may not be blowing up, the Panthers are on, get to that a little bit later. It does feel like stressful. I'm just like, can we go? Can we go? And they, of course, want to browse every single, spot, try to catch the deals or whatever. And like I said, I like the routine. I'm down with it. I would have just liked to go earlier. And it was also raining and windy too, so that wasn't great. But finally we get back. Amber's mom and dad are there, and we're all watching football. I made guacamole and pico de gallo, like I said earlier. And things are going well for my team for sure at this point. Every single one of my guys is blowing up. And I'm feeling real smug. Maybe not Colin smug, but I'm feeling pretty smug. I was feeling pretty smug until Tyreek Hill just went off on me for those like late 2 touchdowns. And they were long touchdowns too. So I was like, oh, all of a sudden getting a little dicey. But overall, the Sunday was good. Amber's aunt randomly showed up with a grandson. Didn't tell us a little child was going to be coming over. Our cats are fearful as fuck of little kids. They like adults okay. They're pretty fearful of them too, but they're definitely terrified of kids. My nephews have come over and like scarred them for life. They chased them all around the house screaming, and then poor Purd was like trying to like get into a drawer. We have like this big banquet table that has drawers, and he's trying to get into the drawer, but he can't quite fit, so his little feet are like showing up under the banquet table. And my nephews are so crazy. They were like trying to like crawl under the banquet table and like kick his feet. I felt so bad for Purd. He was terrified. But ever since then, they just can't do kids. But this is apparently my cousin-in-law, or whatever, named Caleb. Real nice kid. He played Sonic the Hedgehog with me during the games, which again, kind of just want to watch the games, but you got this little kid trying to bond with you, so you got to do the right thing and play Sonic the Hedgehog sometimes. After that, of course, watch Game of Thrones after dinner. Incredible show so far. Was really fired up for all these character arcs. They're about to become more adult now, I guess, so things are going to change a little bit from what I'm seeing, but it's been a really fun ride so far. Really fun. All right, that pretty much does it. Oh wait, sorry, Monday night. So obviously Monday, you've been drinking all day from football. Never feel perfect, but feel not hungover, just like tired, sore, whatever it is. And I go to work. I teach all these kids, and then suddenly my notifications start blowing up, so I know football started. And as I'm looking at my notifications, like between students and stuff, I'm noticing that all of a sudden I'm down now. Jalen Hurts has gone for like 30 plus points in the first half, and my guys combined for like, I think at the time it was like 6 points. My wide receiver 1 and my running back 1 combining for 6 points. So all of a sudden I'm losing. And at this point, I'm real de-gaff about my lessons. I'm having that, I'm sitting behind them, sitting at their 5 o'clock, watching them play keyboard. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Do it one more time from the top. Frantically scrolling to update. And fortunately, I got it done. That would have been a brutal loss to suffer. I was never quite as favored as I was against Evan, but if I would have lost like that twice in a row, from being like 80% favored to losing into the last games, that would have been real tough. So I sweated out, went to Crumble, ate some cookies, and here we are. So I feel like my next segment is pretty obvious. It's the mailbag segment. It turns out to be the bulk of the show and the bulk of what people really want to hear and care about. One thing I thought was funny, I want to try to do it more often, but it's hard to hunt down these stories because whenever you Google like NFL news, it's usually just like bullshit you don't care about. Like, this guy's hurt. This guy is probably going to be playing a significant role in fantasy. This coach, Matt Rule, deserves to be fired. Shit like that. And I'm more looking for like weird, awkward stories. And then if you type in weird NFL stories, basically what happens is you get a bunch of satire. Like cheerleader dating narcos hitman, like weird shit like that. And you're like, this isn't real. And it's definitely not real. So I'm not going to give that preposterous shit to you guys. But one story that I thought was kind of weird this week was someone threw a bottle at the owner of the Cleveland Browns when he was on the field. So let's kind of get into that Browns story. Owner almost hit with bottle. I wish there was a video of it. Let me share this here so we can all be on the same page. Fan arrested. You all see this okay? After a thrown bottle hits, oh, it did hit him. Oh shit. By the way, I thought that upset was so fucking priceless. There's this one shot where the kids, like I think it's the coach's kids and shit, are on the field because they think they won. It's like a 13-point lead. They're on the field, and then that Joe Flacco bomb to Corey Davis happens, and now everyone's starting to look a little shook, and then the onside kick happens, and everyone is looking more shook. And every time they keep going back to the coach, he's got his like 4 kids behind him, and they all look like progressively more and more demoralized. All right, so let's get into the story. As the Jets pull off a stunning 13-point comeback to beat the Browns on Sunday, one fan seemingly took out their frustrations on Cleveland owner Jimmy Haslam. In the final moments of the Jets' 31-30 win, Jeffrey Miller, 51-year-old man, get your shit in line, brother. Oh, we threw a water bottle. Give me a fucking break. That hit Haslam as he exited the fields near the players' tunnel. The moment was caught. I mean, to a certain extent, I feel like this owner deserves to get a bottle thrown at him for all the shit he's put these fans through. I mean, what's the price of a Browns ticket these days? It's got to be like hundreds of dollars, right? You pay hundreds of dollars to see that bullshit happen in your own house. It was like the first time in 20 years that a 13-point deficit has been erased in under 2 minutes. Miller was arrested Sunday on complaints of assault, failure to comply with a lawful order, and disorderly conduct. Ugh. And plan to ban a fan who threw. Yeah, just ban him. Don't arrest him. That's bitch. Owner Jimmy Haslam late. All right, let's see if there's actually a picture. There it is. Hits him right in the dick. Seriously, hits him right in the dick. Look at this. Going. Now I see Anyway, I thought that was a fun story. Also fun, the kids behind the coach. So depressed. All right, so let's get right into the mailbag. That's like the weekly weird fantasy football news. Doesn't have to be fantasy news. All right, here we go, guys. Let me find my first question. All right, from one young Andrew Peebley, another proud dad. Did you intentionally hurt the ceiling of your team by trading for Rodgers just so you could get another stack, Rodgers-Jones? The obvious answer to that is no, Pebbles. I did not do it to tank my team's ceiling. Obviously, if you look at my team, I would probably have won both weeks had it not been for the quarterback discrepancy in both of them. Here we go. Week 1, I was outscored 24.52 podcast math by, we're gay now, and I lose by 6-ish, 6.02. So had Tom Brady thrown a touchdown and, a few more yards, I would have had that game in hand. Or, also, this is brutal. I talked about it last week. My kicker and defense scoring 1 each, outscored by 9 here. That's brutal. You go on to week 2, and I do win, but again, I'm outscored at quarterback. I'm not even going to try to do that math. I guess that's like 32.48. All right, so I did try to do it. Something like that. Maybe it's the other way around, but outscored 32 points by a quarterback in my quarterback position. And to be fair, you could argue with me that Tom Brady is, just as competent as Aaron Rodgers fantasy-wise in recent years. However, Aaron Rodgers, I feel like, is going to get better. He's working with a new receiver core, a new offensive coordinator, and I think he's just going to slowly get better as the season goes on. He's not gonna continue this. He has 2 touchdowns and 1 interception through 2 games. You think that's going to continue? I don't think it is. And then the thing is with Tom Brady is his whole team is beat up. All of his wide receivers are beat up. His line is beat up, and his personal life is beat up. His wife, I'm not sure if you got, that should have been my weird story of the week, although it's not a weekly story, but Giselle is a witch. You guys know about this, right? Giselle has some odd pregame rituals for her husband. Giselle let Brady know how lucky he was to marry a witch. Yeah, this is wild shit, man. And now he doesn't have the witch's power at his back. When did they get married? Giselle, Brady, marriage. When did they get married? They married in 2009. So if you go to Tom Brady's career starting in 2009, he's already won a few Super Bowls, but maybe they were engaged. I don't know. All time. This is the kind of shit that you love to hear on this podcast. This is that hard-hitting, real, factual shit that you need to hear. Which shit? All right, where are we at? What the fuck is this? Recent games? No, I want to see his career. All right, let's just look up Brady career stats. Here we go. 2009, they get married. Yeah, he threw for 50 touchdowns in 2007. I wonder when that's when they started dating, because before that he had never been over 92.3, and then all of a sudden this elixir. And by the way, same stats, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception as Rodgers. All right, a little bit of a tangent. Which point aside, I think that Tom Brady is going to take a while to come back. I think he's 45. I think that all the other shit I talked about, and I think Aaron Rodgers can only get better. He's a 2-time MVP, maybe 3-time MVP, 3-time MVP, 2-time in a row. He's going to be fine. As for Lazard, that trade I made, I didn't love what I saw. Sure, he's a little banged up, getting back in the fold, but I just wasn't convinced. I couldn't see myself starting him next week with any clarity. Stevenson was on the table as well, and I like his later season upside a little bit more. little more tangible to me anyway. And I liked what I saw from Sammy Watkins. He looked fast. He looked speedy. I thought that he had just as much upside as the Lizard did. So I think they're both vying for that wide receiver 1 role, and I like the Watkins athletic pedigree. I don't love his career pedigree for what it's actually been, but I like his athletic pedigree, and I think that he could potentially be the guy in Green Bay. I'm not saying he is, but he could be. All right, so that answers that. That was a really long way to answer that question. But I'm glad you guys are sending mailbags in. I got a lot this week. This is great. Crowd participation. This one is from one young Adam Bolenbaugh. Mailbag questions. Oh, 2. Can we get a Stu check-in on the Baker experience through 2 weeks? Where does he rank in the QBs since Cam? All right. It hasn't been that good. He has some clutchness to him here and there, but when he really needs to be clutch in those fourth quarter to win drives, he was there last week. I mean, he had the ball back with like 7 seconds left. He basically won the game last week when he was on the field, but then they did this real weird shit where they're like not going for the touchdown. They think a field goal is going to be good enough, but there's like 2 minutes left. That kind of shit I didn't like, but I think that was more Matt Rule and maybe a little Baker with that fumble. But last week I was just not sold on the Baker experience, really. I thought that it was lackluster, inaccurate, just not a whole lot going on. But unfortunately, and this did bring me back thinking about like when Cam Newton had the ball to win the game in the fourth quarter, you felt like you had a chance. You really did. You felt like you were going to win. And then he would make these incredible plays, like these scrambles on third downs, these really clutch plays. And Cam doesn't get enough credit for it because, of course, in the biggest moment of his career, he had one of the most unclutch plays in the Super Bowl. But he had clutch plays throughout his career. Despite not being an accurate quarterback, he would hit a big throw when he had to. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't think of a quarterback that I've liked better than Baker since Cam had to go. I mean, I guess even when Cam came back, he was like a shell of himself. So yeah, unfortunately, I think he's the best one. I'm not sold on the experience. Of course, I think the coaching is a huge issue in Carolina. The culture seems to be a huge issue as well. So yeah, not a fan of the Panthers or the Baker Mayfield experiment. I think we're one of the worst teams in the league. I think we're awful. I don't think we're going to win many games. We've now lost a league-leading 9 straight games dating back to last year. So there you go on that. What has been your biggest fantasy player surprises through 2 weeks? I guess I can just look at the players' league leaders, and maybe this will clue me in. Let's just do this. Wide receiver, running back, tight end. Like a lot of I guess I'm pleasantly surprised that Amon-Ra St. Brown is doing it as well as he has. I mean, he's 5th in all skill position players, 51.3. So I am very pleasantly surprised with him. Christian Kirk is a big surprise for sure. So yeah, I guess I'll have to go Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is obviously my new favorite player, scoring 50-plus points in the last 2 weeks. And he's just like a solid dude. So there you go. Amon-Ra St. Brown. All right, next question. This one is from one Bradley Sones from Santa Barbara, California. If you do a pod this week, my question for you, why do you guys, all right, you guys are all using colons in this shit. Colon, mailbag questions, colon. Andrew didn't use colons, but we're 2 for 3 in colons. You guys have colons. All right. What is the most memorable trade in Frisbee touchdown history? or the best trade you remember. What is the worst? Mine is I traded, and I would have to go back and do research into this, and I don't know if I want to do it live, but I basically traded for Melvin Gordon in my first league year. Let me see my first championship league year. So that was probably my most memorable one, because then I went on to win the championship, but I can't remember the details of that trade, unfortunately. I would really have to navigate this thing live, and I don't think you guys love that. Maybe you do, but yeah, I basically just remember making a big trade to get Melvin Gordon, and then he was such a solid player. He scored like 10 points for me every week, and he was just what I needed to get over the hump at that point. So that was the most memorable one for me. All right. So let's see here. We got another one, another question. As a two-time champion, do you believe there's any truth to drinking your team to victory? Sorry, this is from Aaron Weaver, the other podcaster. There is 100% truth to drinking your team to victory. Even if it's not actually better, the drunker you get, it feels better, and it seems better. It seems like anything is possible. So there's definitely truth to it. I remember when this all started, it was game 6 Clay, that game. Geez, it might have started before that. I think it was a 2015 championship, but it really like solidified itself with game 6 Clay, which I'll get to. But we were watching game 3 Cavs Warriors in the 15 finals, and we were all so nervous from the jump. We were drinking, and it was all Coronas and tequila, Patron to be specific. So we drank a whole I don't know what those little bottles are, I guess they're fifths, I don't know, of Patron, and like probably like 30 Coronas. And of course the Warriors came back to win that series, and that was really what, set us apart, was the drinking. That's what got us there. That's what got us over the hump. Game 6 Clay, we remembered that game 3, and we're like, we really need this win. The Warriors are on the brink of elimination against Kevin Durant. They're in OKC. They went down 3-1. Now it's 2-3, and they really need this game. So we started drinking. Same thing, Corona and Patron, and it worked again. So we're 2 for 2 with Corona and Patron, at least with the Warriors games. Now, it didn't happen for a few more games for us, but 100% drinking your team to victory helps. Although it didn't help me drinking myself to victory in these last competitions. That did not work, except for beer pong. But other than that, did not work. I did not drink myself to victory. But all you guys were exercising your powers too. So we're all fighting each other like a bunch of drinking wizards, shooting our our energy at each other. And Bill just came out on top because he's the strongest drinking wizard. That's just what it is. All right. What do you think was the key to your championship runs? I think the key was the trades that I made. I mentioned the other one with Melvin Gordon, but both years I made trades that ended up really paying dividends down the stretch. I think the next time I traded was with Adam. And maybe you guys can fill in the details of that trade in the chat, and the one with Max the year before too. But I really do believe those adjustments were huge keys, because you can always point to like a player getting injured and you benefited with a handcuff or whatever, or you weren't injured so you're lucky. But the only thing you can really measure, in my opinion, is what you actually did. The draft, your pickups, and then more specifically your trades, because trades are, you have to give something up to get something. And with my trade now, I thought that, obviously my back's against the wall. My quarterback's dead. I don't believe in wish list Tom Brady. So I went with Aaron Rodgers. And it could pay off. He could be scoring 20 points a week, 30 points a week for me, and I'll look like a genius. Or I'll look like a fucking fool. Wish I would have traded Max. I've just been so distracted these last few days, and I would have definitely put in an offer for his boy. But yeah, those trades, I think, were keys to championship runs. Obviously, those other things I mentioned were helpful as well. Health and just getting timely ads. Which player do you think is going to come crashing down from their meteoric season start? Which player do you think is going to recover from a mediocre, abysmal start? So let's go back to this this player research tool. What am I doing? League leaders. I need more coffee, guys. Here we go. All right. Let's go back here. I mean, it's pretty wild, like all these guys. I'm not sure I can foresee both Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill having these kinds of seasons for the whole season. I think probably Jalen Waddle will be the one to take the hit because he doesn't have the same touchdown upside, even though he has more touchdowns. I feel like Tyreek has that home run touchdown upside. Let's keep rolling down here. Let's go to kind of some shittier draft capital. Preseason. Oh, that's a good way to do it. Preseason rankings. Dalvin Cook. Golly. Yeah, he might be a candidate. I'm not sure, but he looks abysmal. Derrick Henry, another busty looking play. Alvin Kamara. There's a lot, but I'm gonna go homer here. I think Dalvin Cook will be better. I think he'll be better down the stretch. I think he was he just didn't get a touchdown in game 1, or he would have had a great line. He had a decent line. 20 for 90 is nothing to blow your nose at. But this game, I mean, it was a classic Kirk Cousins disaster game. Yeah, prime time disaster game. That's what Kirk Cousins does. So I'm not super concerned. But yeah, I think Jalen Waddle could come down to earth. This Garrett Wilson fella could. Curtis Samuel certainly could. But yeah, those are my picks for that. Good question. Great question. And then finally, probably the no offense, Colin, probably the worst question because no one cares about Livermore but me. Top 3 date night spots in Livermore and top 3 bars in Livermore. So I legitimately have not gone to just a bar here in Livermore. Legitimately. So I can't really say what's a great bar, what's not. Adam and I went to this First Street Ale House for a Warriors playoff game, and that was fun. But we just got like some shitty appetizers and beers, so it's not really much to write home about. Now, there's a phenomenal restaurant in Livermore called Range Life, and it's one of those like super fancy, like chef-inspired, chef-owned restaurants or whatever, where they like make the menu very specifically depending on the fresh produce they have and whatever the creativity the chef wants to show you. I remember they had a dry-aged steak on there for like $300, but we have gone there for some date nights, and it's always pricey, but it's really good food, really good wine. So that's called Range Life. There's a Mexican place here called La Botica, and they have like a tequila and whiskey bar, and they also do really good more high-end Mexican food. So La Botica is a great place. And let me think. I think that's pretty much it. There's Yu's Kitchen, which is kind of a fancy Chinese place here, which we really liked. But a really good date night spot is the theater. I think it's like the Theater on Vine or something, the Cinema on Vine. It's on Vine Street, obviously. And it's one of those like really warm, comforting, roomy movie theaters with like couches and tables, and you can like buy wine and beer and food and bring it to your area. And it's local too, and like not one of those corporate theaters. So they always have like fun old movies that they play, and we really love going on date nights there. So there you go. It's kind of I threw the bars out because I haven't been to a bar here, which is shocking. I know. But First Street Ale House, Range Life, Uncle U's Kitchen, the Theater on Vine, and La Botica. There you go. No one cares. Everyone's checking out, especially all of our outside the league viewers. They're churning in their cars. All right. So that brings me to the next one. Our weekly friendship award clearly goes to Max and Weaver for having that beautiful drink through each other's arms. Very close second was Bill and Jeff, but got to go with Max and Weaver. 2 league mates, 2 best friends, just a couple of best friends hanging out. Friendship award. There you go. So put it on the board. And now finally we have everyone's favorite segment, Silver Linings Playbook. The silver lining of last week's losses. Here we go. Let's share this screen. Oh, I'm already sharing it. Ugh. Probably shouldn't have been sharing it through that whole last rant, but I'll get better at this, I promise. All right. So, Bill, your silver lining is obvious. You scored a shit ton of points. Jalen Hurts and Tyreek Hill are studs. With just a little bit from your tight end position, you would have won this game. So I think you got an absolute steal on the waiver wire. And who did you get again? God damn it, I was looking at it and I could not believe that you were the one who got it for like almost nothing. Let me see here. I'm gonna kick myself in the fucking face when I see how obvious this is. All right. And also that late surge put you ahead of me in the standings. There's another silver lining for you. Bonus silver. You got Irv Smith and Hayden Hurst. I thought that those were steals. No one bid. 12 points, 8 targets. I mean, a little touchdown dependent, but 8. You got to love 8 targets. So I thought that was solid. There's your silver lining. Let's go back to the league here. Week 2 matchup. All right. Javante's Inferno, young Peebly, dad power. This is a dad versus dad fucking hate fest here. Look at this. Andrew versus Max. 2 powerful dads squaring off. I think some silver lining here. I don't think your team scored too poorly. 121 points is nothing to scoff at. That's kind of where you want your offensive output, your zone to be. And sometimes you just get beat. But you definitely want it in like the 110s, 120s. Silver lining, Higgins is back. He looked great. He looked like a wide receiver 2. Yeah, I think you saw a little bit of life from Kyler Murray, and it was scary. That first week he put up 20 points, but again, it was like in a blowout loss, and it looked like it was going to be another blowout loss, but he looked good again. So you have, I think, a nice average for your points despite being 0-2. And I think that you valiantly tried to come back. What was this Monday night game here? So, yeah, you had do-gooder, 10.7. That was good. Yeah, there's your silver lining. I think you have a nice roster. I think you're going to put up points. It's just a matter of if you can get over the hump. All right, here we go. PED, Scott Novum. Yeesh. This is one that's hard to find the silver lining, and it's one of those where you want to say, maybe don't invest so heavily. Speak right. Heavenly. Don't speak so heavily. All right, now I'm just completely Don't speak so heavily. All right, let's try this again. Don't lean so heavily on the Seahawks offense. How about that? Maybe lean more heavily on a team that isn't led by Geno Smith. But this is Silver Linings Playbook, so we've got to find something for you. And I think your Silver Linings, you've still got your boy, who I love watching him play, Deandre Swift. It is a real shame that he didn't get more of a role in this last game. But that one touchdown he had just showcased like his extremely elite running back upside. That touchdown play he had where he was like on the ground after catching it, and then he got up, like jump cut to the left and like scored. It was an incredible play. So I think you still have probably the most electric running back in the league that I can think of right now, Deandre Swift. And Joe Burrow has been playing poorly. He can play better. And yeah, that's it. You got Kelsey. He's an absolute stud. That was a down week. So silver lining, you got some studs. You got probably the best tight end and the most electric running back in the league. So there you go. There's your silver lining, Scott. Oh no, who's next? All right, what's a king to a Godwin? Again, I don't think I need to harp on this too much. You scored 156 points, 0.78, Sean. That is championship output. If you're probably one of the top scorers in the league. If you get a little bit more production from ETN on your tight end position, you're going to be right there. Jarvis Landry, I mean, just a weird day. That game was a weird game. Weird day in New Orleans, some voodoo shit. So yeah, you're championship material. You're in the conversation for champion, favorite to be a champion in this league. That would be my silver lining. You're in the championship conversation. Oh God, you guys both need silver lining for this one. 78.4 points from Born Again Virgins to 67 points from Cuckfest. Brad, your silver lining is easy. I thought you made a lot of really interesting, great moves. The Tua pickup, I think, is really a really good pickup. Devontae Adams and DJ Moore are studs. They're going to do fine. I think Lazard has wide receiver alpha potential. He's in the conversation there. So you guys are right there. I mean, you got to get rid of Zay Jones, though, guy. And I don't know why you're starting the Indianapolis defense ever. So hopefully you're going to make a few adjustments. Now that you have Tua, I think your upside is there. This is one thing I'm really kicking myself in the draft for, is not picking up a stud quarterback, waiting too long. And that gamble is not paying off for me. So we'll see if mine. And I guess I don't really want to do I guess I could. Silver lining for Weaver. You're 2-0, dude. You just need those wins. Just stack those wins, but you need that point total to go up. You need that point total to go up. You got Jeff Wilson Jr., you got all the Wilsons, Wilson and Wilson Co. Russell Wilson can't possibly play worse. And also, he has Nathaniel Hackett as his coordinator. If you guys recall, Rodgers from Green Bay had Hackett as his coordinator last year and had a really slow start because apparently it's a complex offense to understand. So Russell Wilson, there's back to that question that Adam had, who is a player that could ascend. Russell Wilson could definitely ascend as he gets more comfortable. We know his pedigree is there. All right, let's do this last Silver Linings playbook. Dak from whence you came. Poor Adam. Poor Adam. 0-2, 11th place. Love the name, though. That could be a silver lining. Dak from whence you came is a great name. I think your silver lining is similar to Pebbles. You put up 117, you just got a little bit boat raced by someone better. It's like how you won the disputed drinking championship. You just boat raced Bill. It wasn't that Bill did poorly, is that you boat raced him. So, yeah, Pitts can't possibly be this bad for this long, can he? I don't know. I hope not. It's similar to what the People Spotter is saying. I mean, it's not rocket science. Why are you taking your queen off the chessboard? Don't do it. Feed your best players. Use your best players. And hopefully Atlanta is going to come around and see that they have one of the best, most athletic tight ends in the league. In the league. The best, most athletic tight ends in the league. That old Darren Sharper video with that Madden video that guy did. Darren Sharper, the hardest hitting safety in the league. I totally called back to that. Kyle Pitts, the most talented athletic tight end in the league. Got to give him the ball, right? So there's your silver lining. Pretty good scoring output. And, I mean, Derrick Henry and Kyle Pitts have got to play better. Have got to play better. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We got our picks now. So I'm going to try to fly through this one. I think I've been doing this for too long now. And you guys know how I feel. The network is pissed. So this is a classic rivalry week. It's funny how these things tend to line up. I guess it makes sense because now we have 3 rivals each, I guess, which I think the odds would show that you're fairly likely to get one of your OG rivals if you get 3 of them in the league. I guess hey, statistician guys. Yeah, what is that? 25% chance that I guess each. I quit. That's the podcast math that I can't do. So there's my other question to you guys out there that you can maybe, in addition to finding out these trades that happened that I discussed, maybe you can figure out what is your chance to at least get one of your old rivals in this randomized scenario where you have 3 rivals now. You had 2 rivals before. What are the odds that you get one of your old school rivals? That is past my pay grade, beyond anything that I know. All right, so I'm going with myself here. This is the first time I'm picking myself, so it's a little scary. I changed my name, by the way, to talk about the whole Aaron Rodgers fiasco from last year. I'm unvaxxed, but immunized. That's a hard word to say. Immunized. I always want to say immunized, but I will not say that. Maybe I'll just change this to immunized. Look, your boy got back to gold, which is fun. Got a bunch of points from my other leagues, which I did well in, until digs happened to me in one league. So, yeah, I'm picking myself for the reasons I just said before. I think Rodgers is actually going to give me some quarterback points. My team has been scoring without my quarterback, so I like my my alphas. I think I'm going to do well. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a bounce-back game. I think Ramondre Stevenson. I always call him Ramondre Stevens. It's Stevenson. So that's going to be an oops every time I say Stevens. I think he's going to slowly increase more and more with his usage. And he looks electric when he does have the ball. So I'm hoping for greener pastures for him. And I think that Scott could have a boom week, but just too heavy into the Seattle offense, in my opinion. All right. Javante's Inferno versus Cuckfest. Got to go with Andrew to get this win, despite all the really good moves that Blad the Impaler made. For those who don't get the reference, in the other pod, they called him BLAD, like LLAD. They're adding L's instead of R's. So Blad the Impaled. That's what it was, not the Impaler. He's the one being impaled. Blad the Impaled. I like his lineup. I don't believe in Lazard, and that's why I traded him. He didn't look like an alpha to me. He looked very beta to me. But, again, there's no clear alpha in that wide receiver room, so it could be Lazard. Why not? Sleepy Joe against New York. That's not good for me, but I just like Pebble's lineup a little bit better. I think he has more solid contributors. I think this like Knox fella, Gordon, Higbee, the double tight end start is never promising. So yeah, I got Pebbles. Tasmanian Devil versus Born Again Virgins. It's tough to pick Weaver here. Let's see. I think Taysom Hill always does well against Carolina, so I'm not buying this 4.7. I think it could be much better than that. But I think I'm going to go with Born Again Virgins. It's tough, though. This is kind of a toss-up for me. I think Jamar Chase will have a great week. I think he's going to have a phenomenal week. I think this is where the Bengals get right. I think Russell Wilson is going to have some trouble with San Francisco. But like Weaver said, he also does well generally against San Francisco. So it's kind of like whose wizard powers are better? Russell Wilson doing better against San Francisco or San Francisco's defense playing better? So, yeah, I just think that oh, fuck, I forgot about Cooper Kupp, Stafford stack. Against Arizona, that could be lethal. Fuck. All right, I changed my mind. I'm going with Bacon. Live switch. Yeah, I think that Stafford Kupp stack with my boy Curtis Samuel. And then this fucking Hilaire against Indianapolis. That's going to be brutal. Montgomery against Houston, I think, is going to be brutal for Weaver. I like Taysom Hill in this matchup. So, yeah, got to go. I'm glad I made that switch. All right, here we go. What's a king to a Godwin? This might go from bad to worse for Adam here. He's playing another guy at the top of the league, another guy putting up tons of points. Gosh, who have you played so far, Adam? So, yeah, you lost 140 to 117. Now you're playing a guy who just put up like 160 or whatever. How do I go back a week? Oh, here we go. And before that, you lost what? Hold up. Before that, you got blown out by Colin. So, yeah, you got blown out by Colin, you got blown out by Evan, and now you're playing another guy with blowout potential. It's just a tough start of the season. You have a really tough schedule to start here. Unfortunately, I have to pick Sean, but I think there's going to be a more successful run in your future here. I don't think your team is bad. I just think you've been kind of going up against buzzsaws. So did I get that pick? All right, good. Tailored Shit Company versus We're Gay Now, which, if you guys don't understand, that was a really fun meme from about 6 years ago when it was still moderately acceptable to do that kind of stuff, where I would take selfies or pictures with a bunch of league members, like hugging and stuff, and then just pretending like it was like a coming out of the closet, like, picture moment, I guess, which now in hindsight doesn't seem very funny, but I thought it was funny at the time. So I did it with a lot of dudes here. The Tailored Shit Company. I swear I look at this and see shirts every time, but shirts. You know, I've actually ruminated on this name a little bit more, and I don't like it very much. I told my wife, who you might have met, Amber, this name, and she's like, "What, is there a company called Tailored Shirts?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Well, what's a Tailored Shirts company?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I guess you just are a company that tailors shirts." But I think you have a better name in you, Bill, and this is a call to action to change your name, because I think you have better potential than that. All right. So this is surging quarterbacks, Mahomes and Hurts. They're both going to feast. Thielen, has he been doing anything? Not really, huh? Kirk and Samuel have been great. I definitely underestimated Samuel. I thought he was going to have a down year. He's been phenomenal. All right, well, phenomenal might be a strong word, but he's been doing really well. Every time I look at the Niners game, I swear he's like busting out a huge run or a He's fighting for like 10 more yards. He's such a electric player to watch. But Hill, this fucking Palmer fellow who triggered me so hard last week, Elijah Moore. I don't know if I'm buying this, but Tyreek Hill is such a boom. He could outscore all three of Evans' guys. Who knows? McCaffrey and Taylor are kind of a wash. Henderson, Dillon. Henderson, it's like, who's leading that backfield? It's the same shit every year with LA, and we just don't know. Dillon looked like he took a little bit of a back seat, but he still had 18 attempts. So it's kind of wild that he looked like he took a back seat, but he still had 18 attempts. Wild. This is a tough one, but with Evans scoring back-to-back 140-point efforts, I think I have to pick him to win. Sorry, not back-to-back. Not back-to-back. He scored 106 the first week, but 140 is good. I'm not sure I completely believe in all of Bill's team. Yeah, 7 attempts from who is he? Breece Hall. Then finally we have probably the marquee matchup of the week, Juju versus the Okefenokee Swamp, which I Googled. Okefenokee Swamp, which I guess is a thing. Yeah, I guess when I run Zoom, my computer thinks too hard and then it doesn't load very well, so let's go ahead and bail on that. All right, so let's go back to the matchup. If you feel like looking at what the Swamp looks like, it looks very scary. But it doesn't really make any sense because you have a guy named Oak. That's where the similarities end. Okay. Okay, Wugbunum. Okefenokee. Typical Colin team name. Juju. Herbert Jackson, another wash. McLaurin, Jefferson. Jefferson's going to have a bounce back game, but I think 10 for McLaurin is maybe a little bit low against Philly. Drake London had a great game, and now he has Davis here. I still think Colin's team is just absolutely stacked. That Everett pickup is going to prove to be one of those potential league-winning pickups because Gerald Everett is putting up the same amount of points as Darren Waller, for example. And look at this, 10 targets. I definitely picked him up in a league as well, and very happy with it. And funny thing, and this is kind of pulling the curtain back, and sorry if I'm busting out Max here, but he tried to trade me Freermouth for Waller, and I thought it was ridiculous when I first looked at it. I thought it was like a joke, but then I looked at the target share and the fantasy points. I'm like, he's having a really good season so far. So kind of a wash there between those two tight ends. Cordero, you just have to go with Colin. I mean, he's been dominating. Won the money 2 weeks in a row. Why would I bet against him now? Maxwell historically gets dumped on. So probably going to get dumped on by the 2-time in a row best scorer. You could also argue that what goes up must come down, and Colin's bound to have a worse performance at some point. So there you go. I got all the picks in. I did all my shit that I usually do. So in closing, looking forward to this NFL week here. Let me turn that off real quick. My stuff is all lagging now. All right. I will be on my long-awaited honeymoon for the next 2 weeks. So I won't be back until, let's see, the Pop-Ops pod is going to be gone until October. I think I'll put it out on probably like October 12th. So I challenge some other league member to pick up the slack of Pop-Ops, just a couple of best friends hanging out, Dad Pod, and put out a podcast of your own. I challenge someone to step to the plate and put out a solo podcast for the next 2 weeks. You just go on Zoom, hop on, press record, and you're good to go. You upload it. We'll give you all the credentials. And also, if you want to buy a Radio Keys shirt, hit me up. They're very cool. And that's pretty much it. So Thank you for hanging out. Just a couple of best friends hanging out. Yeah.